Check, check, check. Hey, there we go. Good evening. Ooh, someone said shh. Were you talking to me or talking to each other? I heard your mom, you. All right. You guys excited? Oh, you guys shush. Hey, this isn't about you. Are you guys excited? Yeah, they're excited. So, hey, I'm Pastor Chase. I'm the senior pastor here. Hi, Daniel. Yeah, Thank you, John. You're my fan. I like it. Good. It's good to have all of you here. Thank you for those of you grandparents who came out to see the kids tonight. We are very excited. They've worked very, very hard on this, and I'm excited to see what they put together for us. Aren't you guys excited to see what they put together? All right. So the way I understand it is they're going to come up here in just a second. They're going to get started. But the best way to bring kids up on stage is by slow clapping. So who wants to slow clap them on? Daryl's going to start the slow clap. A little faster, Daryl. All right, come on, kids. Come on up.
Okay, so they're actually not coming up yet, so they're going to go sit back down. However, this is a Christmas program, but we need your help in this Christmas program. So as the kids get up on stage, they'll be up just like this, and they're going to sing some Christmas songs. The words will be on the screen, but I know you guys know them, so we need you to sing along with us, okay? Okay.
Today we have lined up a Christmassy treat. Traditional nativities are always sweet, but ours is quite novel. We'll tell it in rhyme, while some of the children will act in mime.
Feel free to take photos and videos too, for God loves to share happy memories with you. So join us first as we start with a sing to welcome in Jesus, the King of all kings.
Let's start in the moment in Luke chapter 2, which tells us what Caesar decided to do. He gathered some soldiers of Rome and made a decree to send people home.
The census he'd take down from the place of their birth would help him to know what the empire was worth. The soldiers unfolded a long legal scroll dictated by Caesar, the man in control. These are the words that the soldiers read, the words that the emperor Caesar had said.
You to register, each at his own original birthplace. Off you go home. Caesar must know what his empire is worth, so register now at the place of your birth.
Caesar, of course, had plans for himself to tax their belongings and increase his wealth. Now, one man called Joseph,
He needed to travel to Bethlehem. He went with his wife, who was gentle and mild, but heavily laden, as she was with child. Though terrible timing, they had to endeavor to travel to Bethlehem both together.
so Mary and Joseph, will you start to walk? And if you don't mind, we'll continue to talk.
I'll rewind a bit as they're walking to town. I'll tell of the day when the angel came down and mentioned to Mary, an unmarried lady, that she was expecting God's very own baby. Of course, she was worried, as you'd expect. Let's face it, her marriage plans could have been wrecked.
But thankfully, Joseph was spoken to too. So instead of creating a hullabaloo, he stood by young Mary, knowing that she'd be chosen by God. She was special indeed, amazing. Imagine, what would you have done if you've been selected to raise God's own son?
Now, we'll need the innkeepers ready and waiting. You'll know what to do when you hear us narrating. And Joseph, you'll soon have some words to say as we watch you searching for somewhere to stay.
Anyways, back to the story in hand, where Mary and Joseph have reached his homeland. And Mary was worried, expecting that soon. The baby would come, they'd quickly be marooned. So quickly, her husband attempted to find a place they could rest, so she'd have some peace of mind.
They'd traveled so far. It was such a long way. They desperately needed a place to stay, and so Joseph knocked on the first door he found, and it opened ajar. A head popped around. The innkeeper listened while Joseph said,
Do you have a room and a lovely warm bed?
The innkeeper answered,
I'm sorry, but no, you'll have to go.
So Joseph and Mary walked down the street, looking so tired they were dragging their feet. They stopped at the next inn and knocked on the door. Then Joseph repeated what he had asked before.
Do you have a room and a lovely warm bed? I'm sorry, we've nothing, not one single one. Certainly not until some guests have gone.
Without hesitation, he pointed away and left them to find somewhere else they could stay. So off once again, both Joseph and Mary knocked on the next inn, not feeling too merry. The innkeeper heard them and came to the door, and Joseph repeated what he had asked before.
Do you have a room and a lovely warm bed?
But sadly, the innkeeper shook his head. Mary was desperate. She'd something to say.
Please, ma'am, we have to have somewhere to stay. Anywhere, please, ma'am. We really don't mind. There has to be something, somewhere you can find.
The innkeeper thought, then pointed and said,
I suppose you could sleep in the cattle shed.
So Mary and Joseph walked over that way and finally settled to rest in the hay. And just in time for the very next morn, an amazing thing happened. Yes, Jesus was born.
So Mary, just pick up the baby and get the cloth by his side, as you're not finished yet. Now, just listen carefully and do as I say, and later you'll lay him to sleep in the hay.
So, holding him closely and safe in her hands, she wrapped him up warmly in swaddling bands, then laid him to sleep in a manger bed, where usually are all of the animals fed.
Now, shepherds, it's your turn to listen this time. So just act out everything we say in mime.
Now, up in the hill one fabulous night, some shepherds looked up. Shepherds looked up and saw a bright light, and one of them said as he looked to the sky,
The light, it's blinding me. Cover your eyes.
The shepherds were frightened. What could it be? No one could tell. It was too bright to see. They huddled together like frightened lambs and shielded their eyes with shaking hands. Then up in the sky, way overhead, all of a sudden, an angel said,
Do not be afraid. I bring news of great joy. Your Savior's been born as a baby boy. You'll find him in Bethlehem, laid in a bed made of a trough and a stable shed.
the shepherds were dazed and stood there and gazing. When all of a sudden they saw something amazing. A whole host of angels gathered around, making beautiful praising sounds. Glory to God and peace to all men. Christ the Lord's born in Bethlehem.
Now, angels, we need you to listen and try to do what we say. You'll soon see why.
They danced and they twirled with such beauty and grace. A vision of loveliness filled the place. They held hands and circled around to the right. Then after a while, they all let go, and everyone stood up on their tippy toes. They lifted their hands up in the air and raised them up high. Then all looked up at the evening sky.
The angels were beautifully blissful to hear, but gradually, one at a time, disappeared, each of them doing their own little dance. With a touch of flair and elegance, one at a time, they all left the sight, leaving an air of peace and delight. Now, shepherds, get ready. We're back to your part. So listen now carefully. We're going to start.
The shepherds were calm now, no longer frightened, just real excited and feeling enlightened. Then one of them turned to the other and spoke.
Can this be for real? It's not just really angels. Did they really say that God's son's in Bethlehem laid in some hay?
After recovering from such a shock, the shepherds decided to leave their flock and travel to where the angel had said the Son of God would be laid in his bed. So off they went with the baby lamb as a gift for the Savior, the Son of Man.
So off you go, shepherds, set on your way to go to the place where the baby lay. Can one of you pick up the lamb as you walk? Your journey is quite long, and meantime we'll talk.
Now I'm sure as they traveled on their way, the shepherds would find a lot of things to say.
I wonder why God sent the angel to us. You'd think his own son would deserve more fuss.
We're not really special. Why would he tell us the news? There are greater people that he could have chosen.
I've brought him a lamb. Is that good enough?
What else could you give him? You don't have much stuff.
How would we know where to find the babe?
What shall we do to find out where he's laid?
All we can do is the best that we're able. We'll just ask around for the babe in a stable.
We'll need some more people in Bethlehem. The action will be over there again. So, Bethlehem residents, now we need you. The shepherds have some inquiring to do. They'll ask each of you if you can assist. But wait for your prompt, you need to resist. So over to Bethlehem, please go and wait. And while you are listening, we'll narrate.
The shepherds eventually reached Bethlehem, where all of their doubts crept in again. They wondered where they would discover the babe. So they asked around town. They asked around for where he was laid, and one of them, asking, a stranger said,
Have you seen a babe in a manger bed?
The stranger replied while scratching his head, and this is what the resident said.
That's a strange place for a babe to be. Sorry, can't help you. Don't ask me.
They walked around town watching people do chores, and the shepherd repeated what he'd said before. So asking the stranger, the shepherd said,
Have you seen a babe in a manger bed?
The stranger replied while scratching his head, and this is what the resident said.
A babe in a manger? How very obscure. I've not heard of one around here, I'm sure.
Thanks, said the shepherds, then set off again and carried on looking around Bethlehem. They met someone else and still wanted to know where they could find the baby. And so asking this person, the shepherd said,
Have you seen a babe in a manger bed?
The stranger replied, and pointing ahead said,
Over there in the cattle shed.
So soon, with directions, the shepherds were able to visit Christ Jesus, asleep in the stable. They knocked on the door and then opened it wide and saw baby Jesus asleep inside. They knelt at his feet, and then one of them said,
Is this the babe in the manger bed? We've come here to worship him, Jesus our King, Savior and ruler of everything. We brought him a lamb, and that's all that we own. Remember us, Jesus, when you're on your throne.
Wow. Let's give him a hand real quick. Now, I already have my Neiman Marcus brownie right here in my pocket that I've been holding out for this very moment. But this is going to be intermission time for about the next 15, 20 minutes, which means our dessert table is going to be open. But before I let you guys go, I'm going to let our kids go ahead and go back there and get some dessert. Let them go first. You don't got to ask mom or dad, okay? Well, Gavin, you might need to, okay? But the rest of you, get something good. Come back up here and find a seat. Then when they're done, you guys are welcome to help yourself to our dessert table. Once again, we do have coffee and water right through that back door. And then in about 15, 20 minutes, we're going to get started with the second half. But thank you guys for coming. Let's give them another hand. Hey, Maddie. Okay, hey. Hey, just as a quick reminder, I forgot to say this before we got started. You guys are going to want to hear this because there's free turkey involved. Yeah, it got real quiet real quick, didn't it? Hey, on Wednesday night, we're going to have a Wednesday night meal, and it's going to take place here at the church. We're going to start serving the food at 5:45. We're going to be using our turkeys that we bowled with at the Turkey Bowl a couple weeks ago, and Daniel's going to smoke them. We're going to have smoked turkey. So if you want to bring sides, that would be great because we'll have desserts. The ladies are going to do the cookie exchange, and the guys, I'm sure, will do something really cute in their department. So, yeah. I heard the guys were going to do I told them they needed to one-up the ladies because they're doing the cookie exchange. I heard the guys are going to do a cobbler exchange. So, cobbler sounds good. I like cobbler. So, cobbler exchange, guys. That sounds good.
We need kings to act this part out now. Okay. We need kings to act this part now, so just listen carefully, then you'll know how. Just pick up your presents and bring them with you, and while you are walking, we'll say what to do. Start off by looking and pointing up high whenever we mention a star, the star in the sky.
A little while later, a really bright star led the wise men to follow it, traveling far. They'd read in the scriptures that Jesus would come and knew that this star was the one. The star taking them to the babe and his mother. They walked forward discussing wise things with each other. And at King Herod's palace, They stopped and they said,
Your Majesty, look at the star overhead. It's leading us on to a child who has come to be the Messiah of everyone. Where will we find him? Have you any news? We'd like to worship this King of the Jews.
Now Herod was jealous when he heard that news, but he didn't express his intention to use all that he learned to kill the poor child. Oh no, he was cunning. He simply smiled. He said,
When you find him, please hurry back, here to show me the way, the one we revere. I want to worship him just as you say.
So they all shook hands. And they went on their way. Now Matthew goes on to say, things turned out fine. God gave them a dream which warned them in time that Herod had lied. So they never returned and left King Herod to learn that he'd been spurned.
Very gifts we have in our heart, field and fountain.
So back to the kings who had learned in their dream that horrible Herod was not what he seemed. So shaking their heads, they didn't look back, but looked at the star to get them on track.
So, kings, will you walk over to them just outside the stable in Bethlehem? Again, listen carefully and do as we say. Just act out the words in form of play. And Mary, there's something we'll need you to do. So you'll have to listen and act it out too.
So finally, up in the starlit sky, the star from the east came to rest way up high, leading the wise men to where Jesus lay, the place where he slept in a manger of hay.
They knocked on the door, and then Mary arose to open it up for them, I suppose. She pointed to Jesus, then they all went to see. They each took their turn to get down on one knee. The three of them knelt at the manger bed, presenting the gifts, and bowed and said,
I bring you frankincense.
I bring you myrrh. I bring you gold.
We worship you, sir.
So that's how the story of Christmas began, when God came to the earth as a savior of man. When we celebrate Christmas and do our part, but does it affect how we feel in our heart? Do we acknowledge what God did for us, or do we get lost in the Christmas buzz?
You see, what we're saying and the point that we're making is that Christmas is all about giving, not taking.
It's good to enjoy all the presents and fun, but at the same time, when all's said and done, for every gift given, there must be a giver. We all need to think of what we can deliver. So what can we do, and what part could we play to brighten up Christmas or just someone's day?
So please think about it. Let's all play our part to give what we can and warm somebody's heart. No money is needed, just thoughts that were kind and gentle, which lovingly bring peace of mind. Then, just as the angels brought news of the birth, we too can bring pleasure and joy to the earth.
Joy
I would give food because some people starve. Maybe love and maybe to have everybody just get along with each other. I would give money because the poor might need it to get a house. Kindness because the world needs to be more kind. Probably happiness. It would be games because they're fun. Christmas lights. Joy. You gotta have joy. This whole earth because this is what we live in. Money because some people that don't have money or just live out in the open don't have money. So I would like to give them money. Christmas because it's so Christmassy. The Christmas tree. Christmas lights. Christmas trees. A Christmas tree. God. Giving. Presents. Jesus. Without eating presents. Jesus. Jesus. And God. Presents. I'm on the nice list because I help clean the house and I help with my brother. I'm on the nice list because I help out my friends and I behave. Nice list because I'm good. I don't really know. I'm on the nice list because I think I've been behaving good. I'm on the nice list because I'm good. Nice because I'm a good boy. Nice because I've been good. I don't know. Because I haven't seen the Santa's list. I don't know what I'm on. The nice one. Because I'm nice. My favorite ornament would be the truck with my name on it. I made a reindeer out of sticks in first grade. It's my favorite. Did the skull balls. Just a regular ornament. It's a red, like it's a bulb. It's red, and it's got gold on it. The ones I made. Wait, the candy cane. The green ones. One of the red ones. I can't remember what it is though. A reindeer sleigh. The star, really. I made an ornament at Home Depot, and it's my favorite. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hey, Noel. Noel, 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 Noel. Born is the King of Israel. Jingle bell, Batman's smoke, all the way. Batman being awesome when the children got away. Hey! A little town in Bethlehem. A little town in Bethlehem. Go tell it on the mountains. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way up and it's driving and say hey. Away in the manger. Carol of the Bells. Okay, I'm done. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Holy night. Holy night. Jingle bells. Christmas tree shaped pancakes with syrup and eggs and sausage.
Grinch pancakes, bacon, eggs, sausage, and hot chocolate.
Turkey, eggs, sausage, and waffles and donuts. Well, my mom makes these like they're bacon, and then she puts it in like these rolls, and then she made this one thing, and it's it's this honey butter. It's good. Donuts, biscuits.
Bacon, biscuits, gravy, and other stuff.
Cookies. Pancakes. Pizza. Pancake that looks like a Christmas tree with sprinkles that look and frosting to make it look like a real Christmas tree. Coal.
Probably a toothbrush.
Clothes. A toothbrush. Coal. A raccoon. Halloween.
Coal.
A haunted house.
A box with nothing in it except for a penny.
A Barbie doll. A monster. Merry Christmas.
Feliz Navidad.
Wilhelm Minofen. Buon Natale. Joy Noel. Bula Nawo. Merry Christmas.
Seku Kulu.
A Sailor Kalida. Wise Yule. Mary Curie.
Merry Kimiki Maka. It's a nice way to say Merry Christmas on a Hawaiian Christmas Day.
All right, kids, you got one more in you? They look ready. But before you're ready, I need some noise from the audience. Because they're not coming up and with us, we hear some noise out here, all right? Let's get them on stage. Come on, kids. Let's rock this house. My goodness gracious. Great job. Man, they're bringing the house down. That'll show the innkeeper. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I'm going to have a quick word of prayer for us, and we're going to be dismissed. And Jared is running up here. Oh, yeah.
All right. Hey, before we close in a word of prayer, I just wanted to, kids, come on back up here upstage real quick. Didn't they do such a good job? Once again, you guys stand on your marks. How about that? That way you know. They've worked really hard over these last, really 4 weeks. And are you guys glad that's done? Yeah? Yeah? Well, Miss Sandra and Miss Jen have worked really hard, haven't they? Sandra and Jen, come on up here real quick. They've been working up there with the kids for the last, I think, 4 weeks or so on Wednesdays and some on Sundays, doing a lot of practice with them, getting them ready for this. So I have a card for each of them just really to say thank you for them and all the hard work that they did. But it wasn't easy, I know, but our kids are great, aren't they? And so they pick up things really well. And I think they had a little fun. Did you guys have fun tonight?
Great time. Hey, do one of you guys want to pray? Blakely, come pray for us. All right, let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Miss Blakely's going to close us in prayer tonight.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. We are so glad that our kids can do a Christmas play and show and tell the story of Jesus' birth. And we pray that we have a good night and we wake up good and refreshed in the morning. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you guys for coming. You're dismissed. Have a good evening.
Make sure to take some desserts on your way out. If you brought things and need to grab your containers, grab those as well. Also, if you haven't yet and still would like to put a donation in the bucket, it's right here on the table as well. Thank you, guys.